What happens when one of country music's biggest legends sits down for what should be a routine morning interview, only to have it spiral into one of the most uncomfortable moments in live television history? This is the story of how a simple question turned into a full-blown confrontation that ended with Reba McEntire walking off the Today Show set, leaving millions of viewers stunned and the host scrambling to fill dead air. Before we get into what went down, make sure you subscribe and drop a comment below telling us what you think really happened here, because this one is going to leave you with questions. The interview started normally enough. Reba McEntire walked onto the set with her trademark smile, waving to the audience as she took her seat across from the hosts. The energy in the studio was warm, the kind of comfortable atmosphere the morning show is known for. The first few minutes rolled along smoothly, with questions about her latest tour, her upcoming album, and some lighthearted banter about life on the road. The lead host leaned forward with a friendly grin. "So Reba, your fans are absolutely loving the new tour. You have been performing for decades now. How do you keep that same energy night after night?" Reba smiled, clearly in her element. "Well, you know, it is about the connection with the fans. Every night is different because every crowd is different. I feed off their energy, and they feed off mine. It keeps me young, honestly," the co-host chimed in. "Speaking of staying young, you look absolutely incredible. What is your secret?" Reba laughed. "Oh, I appreciate that. I think it is just about taking care of yourself, staying active, and loving what you do. When you love your work, it shows." Everything seemed perfectly pleasant, the kind of interview that would wrap up with some promotional plugs and a performance. But then the tone shifted. The lead host glanced down at their notes, and when they looked back up, there was something different in their expression, something more pointed. "Reba, I want to shift gears a little bit here, if we can," the host said. "You have been very vocal over the years about certain personal beliefs, especially when it comes to family values and traditional ideals. But we have noticed you have been quieter lately on some of the bigger social issues that a lot of celebrities are speaking out on. Is there a reason for that?" The studio seemed to get a little quieter. Reba's smile remained, but it tightened just slightly at the edges. "Well, I have always believed that my music speaks for itself. I am here to entertain people, to bring them joy. I do not think every conversation needs to turn into something heavy." The co-host jumped in, their tone casual but probing. "But do not you think that with your platform, you have a responsibility to speak up? I mean, a lot of your fans look up to you. They want to know where you stand on things that matter." Reba shifted in her seat, her hands folding neatly in her lap. "I think where I stand is pretty clear. If people pay attention to my work and how I live my life, I do not feel the need to broadcast my opinions on every single issue just because someone expects me to." The lead host pressed on. "But is not silence a choice too? Some would argue that staying quiet on certain issues is the same as taking a side." There was a pause, just long enough to feel uncomfortable. Reba's expression did not change much, but her eyes sharpened. "I think that is a pretty unfair way to frame it. I am not staying quiet because I do not care. I am choosing not to turn every interview into a political debate. There is a difference." The co-host leaned forward, their voice taking on a more personal tone. "We are not trying to make this political, Reba. We are just curious. For example, there have been conversations recently about inclusivity in country music, about making the industry more welcoming to people from all backgrounds. You have been a trailblazer for women in country music. Where do you stand on making sure the genre is inclusive for everyone?" Reba nodded slowly, her jaw tightening just a fraction. "I think country music has always been about storytelling, about real life and real emotions. It is a genre that connects with people because it is honest. I have always supported anyone who wants to make great music, regardless of who they are or where they come from." The lead host was not letting it go. "That is great to hear, but there are some who feel like the industry, and maybe even some of its biggest stars, could be doing more. Do you think you could be doing more?" The question hung in the air, like a challenge. Reba's smile faded completely now, replaced by a calm but firm expression. "I think I have spent my entire career breaking down barriers and paving the way for others. I have worked harder than most people can imagine to get where I am, and I have done it with integrity. So no, I do not think I need to justify what I am or am not doing to anyone." The co-host tried to soften things. "We are not asking you to justify anything, Reba. We are just having a conversation." Reba's eyes flicked between the two hosts. "Is that what this is? Because it feels a lot more like I am being put on trial here." The lead host let out a small, nervous laugh. "Not at all. We just think it is important to have these discussions." Reba did not laugh. "Then maybe you should have told me that is what this interview was going to be about before I sat down. Because I came here to talk about my music, not to be interrogated about my personal beliefs." The tension in the studio was thick now, the kind you could feel through the screen. The hosts exchanged a quick glance, clearly not expecting this level of pushback. The lead host tried to recover. "Reba, we respect your career and everything you have accomplished. But you have to understand, people are paying attention to these things now more than ever. Reba's voice stayed steady, but there was an edge to it now. I understand that perfectly well. What I do not understand is why you feel the need to ambush me on live television instead of just asking me about my work, like we agreed on. The co-host interjected, trying to smooth things over. We did not mean for this to feel like an ambush. Reba cut them off, her tone sharp but controlled. Well, that is exactly what it feels like. The studio audience was silent now, the discomfort palpable. The hosts were clearly scrambling, trying to figure out how to steer the conversation back to safer ground, but the damage was already done. The lead host tried one more time. Look, Reba, we are all on the same side here. We just want to have an open and honest conversation. Reba looked directly at the host, her expression unreadable. If you wanted an open and honest conversation, you would have been open and honest with me about what this interview was really going to be. Instead, you blindsided me, and now you are acting surprised that I am not playing along. The silence that followed was deafening. The lead host finally broke the silence, their voice noticeably less confident than before. Reba, I think maybe we got off on the wrong foot here. Let me try to rephrase this. Reba held up a hand, stopping them mid-sentence. No, I do not think rephrasing is going to fix this. You knew exactly what you were doing when you asked those questions. You wanted to create a moment, and congratulations, you got one. The co-host shifted uncomfortably, trying to inject some levity. We really were not trying to create anything, Reba. We just thought it would be interesting to get your perspective on some of these topics. Reba's laugh was dry, almost bitter. Interesting for who? For your viewers? For your ratings? Because it certainly was not interesting for me to be put in this position. The lead host tried to regain control of the interview. You are absolutely right that we should have been clearer about the direction of the conversation. But now that we are here, can we at least talk about it? You have such a unique perspective as someone who has been in this industry for so long. Reba shook her head slowly. You are still doing it. You are still trying to push me into a corner. I am not going to sit here and give you sound bites that you can twist into whatever narrative you want to sell. The co-host leaned in, their voice taking on a more pleading tone. That is not what we are trying to do at all. We genuinely respect you, Reba. We respect your career, your talent, everything you have accomplished. Reba's eyes narrowed slightly. If you respected me, you would not have ambushed me like this. Respect means being upfront about your intentions. Respect means having a conversation, not setting a trap. The lead host was visibly flustered now, trying to find a way to salvage the interview. I want to be clear, Reba, we did not set any kind of trap. These are questions that a lot of people have. Questions that your fans have. Reba's voice rose just slightly, still controlled but with more force behind it. My fans come to my shows. They buy my albums. They have followed me for decades. And you know what they do not do? They do not ambush me with loaded questions disguised as casual conversation. The audience was completely silent now, everyone watching this unfold in real time. The camera operators did not know where to point their cameras. The crew was frozen, and you could see the panic starting to set in on the hosts' faces. The co-host tried again, their voice softer. Reba, can we just take a breath here and reset? We clearly started this conversation in the wrong way. Reba looked at them for a long moment before responding. You know what the problem is? The problem is that you think I need to answer to you. You think that because I am sitting in this chair, I owe you explanations about my personal beliefs, my values, my opinions on every hot-button issue you can think of. And I do not. The lead host jumped in quickly. We do not think you owe us anything, Reba, but you have to understand, when you are in the public eye, people are going to have questions. Reba's response was immediate and sharp. People can have all the questions they want. That does not mean I have to answer them, especially not when they are framed the way you are framing them. The co-host tried to de-escalate. How would you prefer we frame them? Reba let out a long breath, clearly trying to maintain her composure. I would prefer you did not frame them at all. I came here to talk about my music, my tour, the things I am actually here to promote. I did not come here to be your punching bag for social commentary. The lead host looked genuinely confused now. Punching bag. Reba, we are just having a conversation. Reba's voice was like ice. No, you are grilling me. There is a difference. A conversation goes both ways. This has been entirely one-sided, with you throwing questions at me that you know are designed to make me look bad no matter how I answer. The co-host shook their head. That is not true at all. We are not trying to make you look bad. Reba leaned forward slightly. Then what are you trying to do? Because from where I am sitting, it feels like you brought me on here under false pretenses so you could score points by putting me in an uncomfortable position on live television. The silence that followed was excruciating. The lead host opened their mouth to respond, then closed it again. The co-host stared down at their notes, clearly unsure what to say next. Finally, the lead host spoke, their voice quieter now. Reba, I think there has been a misunderstanding here. We genuinely wanted to have a meaningful conversation with you. Reba's expression did not soften. A meaningful conversation requires honesty. It requires transparency. And it requires both parties to be on the same page about what they are discussing. None of those things happened here today. The co-host tried one more time. Can we start over? Can we talk about your new album? Your tour? The things you came here to talk about? Reba looked at them both, then glanced over at the camera, then back at the hosts. For a moment, it seemed like she might agree, like she might let them reset and move forward. But then she shook her head. You know what? No, I do not think we can just move past this and pretend it did not happen. Because it did happen, and it tells me everything I need to know about what this interview really was. The lead host's voice took on a note of desperation. Reba, please, we are live. We have millions of people watching. Can we please just continue the interview? Reba's response was calm, but firm. That is exactly the problem. You care more about the millions of people watching than you do about treating your guest with basic respect and courtesy. The co-host looked genuinely distressed. Now, we do respect you, Reba. We always have. Reba stood up, and you could feel the shock ripple through the studio. If you respected me, this conversation would have gone very differently. The lead host stood up too, reaching out as if to stop her. Reba, wait, please let us talk about this. Reba looked at them with an expression that was equal parts disappointment and resolve. We just spent the last 10 minutes talking about it. I think I have made myself clear. The co-host was on their feet now too. Reba, please do not leave. We can fix this. Reba shook her head. No, you cannot, because the damage is already done. You showed me exactly who you are and what you think of me, and I am not going to sit here and pretend that did not happen. The lead host was clearly panicking now. Reba, we are begging you. Please stay. We will talk about whatever you want to talk about. Your album, your tour, anything. Reba's voice was steady, but there was a finality to it. I appreciate the offer, but I think I am done here. I came on this show in good faith, and that good faith was not returned. So I am going to excuse myself. The co-host's voice was almost pleading. Reba, think about the fans watching. Think about the people who tuned in to see you. Reba turned back to face them, her expression softening just slightly. I am thinking about them, and I am thinking about what kind of example I want to set. I am not going to sit here and let myself be disrespected just because it is live television. My fans will understand that. The lead host tried one last time. Is there anything we can say to change your mind? Reba looked at them for a long moment, then shook her head. No, there is not. And with that, she began removing her microphone, carefully unclipping it from her clothing and setting it down on the chair. The host stood there, frozen, unsure what to do. The camera crew did not know whether to keep filming or cut away. The entire studio was in a state of suspended animation, watching one of the biggest stars in country music prepare to walk off the set in the middle of a live broadcast. The lead host made one final attempt. Reba, please, we are sorry if we offended you. That was never our intention. Reba paused, her hand on the microphone pack at her waist. She looked at the host with an expression that was hard to read. I believe that it was not your intention to offend me, but it was your intention to put me in a difficult position, and you succeeded. So now I am making a choice about how I respond to that. The co-host's voice cracked slightly. And your choice is to walk off. Reba nodded slowly. My choice is to remove myself from a situation that has become untenable. That is my right, and I am exercising it. The lead host stood there, mouth slightly open, clearly trying to formulate words that might salvage the situation. Reba, we understand you are upset. We understand we handled this poorly. But walking off, is that really the answer? Reba finished removing her microphone pack and set it gently on the table beside her chair. Walking off is not the answer I wanted, but it is the answer I have been left with. You put me in an impossible position, and now you are asking me to stay in it. That is not fair, and I am not going to do it. The co-hosts stepped closer, their hands out in a gesture of supplication. What can we do right now, in this moment, to make this right? Reba looked at them both, her expression tired but resolute. You cannot make it right. Not now. Maybe you could have an hour ago, before this interview started, by being honest with me about what you really wanted to discuss. Maybe you could have made it right 10 minutes ago by backing off when it became clear I was uncomfortable. But now the only thing I can do is leave with my dignity intact. The lead host's voice took on a desperate edge. Your dignity has never been in question. Reba, you are one of the most respected artists in the world. Reba's laugh was short and humorless. Then why did you treat me like I was not? Why did you treat me like someone you needed to corner and interrogate instead of someone you respect? The co-host interjected quickly. We did not mean for it to feel like an interrogation. Reba turned to face them directly. But it did, and intentions do not erase impact. You can stand there and tell me all day long that you did not mean for it to feel that way. But that does not change the fact that it did feel that way, and I get to decide how I respond to that. The lead host ran a hand through their hair, clearly stressed. Reba, we have cameras rolling. We have a show to finish. Can we please just sit back down and talk about your music? I promise, no more difficult questions. Just your album, your tour, the things you want to talk about. Reba shook her head slowly. You are still missing the point. It is not about difficult questions. I have answered difficult questions my entire career. It is about respect. It is about honesty. And once those things are gone, you cannot just get them back by promising to behave better for the rest of the interview. The co-host's voice was almost a whisper now. So there is nothing we can say. Reba looked at them with something that might have been sympathy. I am sure there are a lot of things you could say, but none of them are going to change what already happened here, and none of them are going to make me feel comfortable staying. The lead host looked directly into the camera, then back at Reba. Our viewers are watching this unfold. They are seeing this happen in real time. Do you have anything you want to say to them? Reba paused, considering the question. Then she looked directly at the camera herself. I want to say that I am sorry if this is not the interview anyone expected. I came here excited to share my music and connect with people who support me. But I also want people to understand that being in the public eye does not mean you have to accept being treated poorly. Everyone deserves respect, whether you are a celebrity or not. And sometimes the most important thing you can do is stand up for yourself, even when it is uncomfortable. The silence that followed was heavy. The lead host looked like they wanted to say something, but no words came out. The co-host stared at the floor. Reba took a breath and continued, still looking at the camera. I hope people watching this can understand why I am making this choice. I am not doing it to be difficult. I am not doing it for attention. I am doing it because staying in a situation where I feel disrespected would be worse than the discomfort of leaving. She turned back to the hosts. I wish you both well. I hope you can learn something from this. And I hope that in the future, you will treat your guests the way you would want to be treated. The lead host found their voice again. Reba, we are learning from this right now. Please give us a chance to do better. Reba's expression softened just a fraction. I believe you will do better, but it will not be with me. Not today. Today, I am choosing to leave. The co-host made one last attempt. Can we at least walk you out? Can we talk off camera? Reba considered this for a moment, then nodded. We can talk off camera if you want, but my decision is not going to change. The lead host gestured toward the side of the set. Okay, let us do that then. But Reba did not move toward the side exit. Instead, she looked back at the camera one more time. Thank you to everyone who supports my music and has supported me throughout my career. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you understand why I had to do this. Then she turned and began walking toward the main exit, the one that led directly off the set, in full view of the cameras. The host stood frozen for a second before the lead host called out, Reba, wait. But she did not wait. She kept walking, her pace steady and purposeful. The camera followed her as she crossed the studio floor, and you could hear the gasps from the audience members. Some of them started applauding, a slow clap that built gradually, though it was unclear if they were supporting her decision or simply reacting to the drama of the moment. The co-host turned to the camera, their face flushed. We are going to take a quick break. We will be right back. But the cameras did not cut away immediately. For a few more seconds, viewers at home could see Reba reaching the exit, could see her push open the door, could see her disappear through it. Only then did the feed finally cut to commercial. When the show came back from break, both hosts were seated again, their expressions carefully composed but clearly shaken. The lead host spoke first, their voice measured. We want to address what just happened. Reba McEntire, as you all saw, chose to leave our interview. We have tremendous respect for Reba and her incredible career. We certainly did not intend for the conversation to go in the direction it did. The co-host nodded. Absolutely. We understand that some of our questions may have come across differently than we intended. We were hoping to have a broader conversation about the industry and current topics, but we clearly did not communicate that effectively. The lead host continued. We want to be clear that we value all of our guests and we never want anyone to feel uncomfortable on this show. We are going to take some time to reflect on this interview and figure out how we can do better going forward. The co-host added, we wish Reba all the best. She is an icon, a legend, and we hope she knows that our respect for her has not changed. The lead host glanced down at their notes, clearly trying to move on. Coming up next, we have got a cooking segment that you are not going to want to miss. But the damage was done. Social media had already exploded. Clips of the walk-off were being shared thousands of times per minute. People were taking sides, debating who was in the right, dissecting every word that was said. Some praised Reba for standing up for herself, for refusing to be pushed into a corner. Others criticized her for being too sensitive, for not being able to handle tough questions. Still others blamed the hosts for ambushing a guest and creating an unnecessary confrontation. The debate raged on for days, with think pieces written about respect in interviews, about the responsibility of public figures to address social issues, about the line between journalism and entertainment. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone had something to say, but at the center of it all was that moment, that decision, when Reba McEntire stood up, removed her microphone, and walked off the set of one of the biggest morning shows in the country. Whether you agreed with her or not, whether you thought she was right or wrong, you could not deny the power of watching someone draw a line and refuse to cross it. It was a moment that reminded everyone watching that celebrities are people too. that respect matters, and that sometimes the most important thing you can do is walk away. Reba McEntire had spent decades in the spotlight, had navigated countless interviews and handled pressure that most people could not imagine. But on that day, in that moment, she decided that enough was enough. The interview that was supposed to be a simple promotional appearance turned into a cultural moment, a conversation starter, a clip that would be replayed and analyzed for years to come. And it all happened because two sides could not find common ground, because expectations were not aligned, because respect was not given the weight it deserved. So what do you think? Was Reba right to walk off, or should she have stayed and finished the interview? Was this a moment of principle or an overreaction? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe so you do not miss our next video. We want to hear from you. What would you have done?